I'd like to welcome you here this evening to Advanced Rheumatology and Wellness Center. Tonight we are going to, actually I've made the bone broth, but we're gonna sample it. I'm gonna tell you and give you some tips that I use and that you can use to make really hearty bone broth. So I gave you a paper here. We're gonna kind of just go through here really briefly about bone broth and how good it is, because everybody now is making it and buying it in cartons, right? And in cans, but we don't want you to do that. It's not hard at all to make your own bone broth. So what I want to tell you that is, it's special, it's nourishing and healing. It actually will help you with your skin and your hair and your fingernails because it contains lots of collagen in it, okay? If you look through this first paper, we're going to tell you that 70 to 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And when you drink bone broth or eat it on a regular basis, it helps to heal the gut. I don't know if you've ever heard of leaky gut. There's people out there that have maybe taken a lot of antibiotics, or you've taken a lot of antibiotics. And so you get a condition, it's called leaky gut. And so it will help with that immensely. So when your immune system is in your gut, we want to fix that. So, and bone broth can help you. So as far as the Instapot, here's an Instapot. This is the 6-quart one. And I already put the, this is really a nice one. My son got me this. There's all different kinds. This one has a lid and it holds a lid. But I already made the broth up because it would take too long. You're going to cook it for like 2 hours in there. So, but I made it up for you. And then I have a recipe for jasmine rice that I made that we're going to have a nice big bowl of soup. Okay? So let's get our recipe out here. The Instapot bone broth. I make beef bone. I make turkey. I make chicken. I make, there's people that use fish. I'm not really up for fish broth, but you can use fish. So these came from my local butcher. They're organic. And that is one thing I have to stress to you ladies. If you're going to make bone broth in a pressure cooker or cook it for a long time in your crock pot, you want to use grass-fed animals, organic. Whatever that animal's eating is going to be in the bones, and we're going to take everything out of there, okay? So you want to make sure, it's really important that you have good quality bones, okay? And you can buy them. They're not cheap by any means, but if you find your local butcher, and organic chickens everywhere, you can make the organic. The beef bones are a little harder to find, but you want these kind of bones with the marrow in them, okay? That's what's going to feed your gut. And look, it doesn't have any meat on it. We're going to get the bones. We're going to take the stuff out of the bones. That's the important thing. Same thing when you're doing your chicken or anything like that. You take all the stuff off of it. We're going to use the bones, okay? All right. Okay, so what is bone broth good for? You may have heard about bone broth, and maybe you're still wondering, why is bone broth good for you? The list of bone broth benefits is long. It improves the appearance of your hair, your skin, and nails. It soothes your digestive system, the inflammation. Like I said, some go as far as saying it heals the leaky gut lining. It supports your joint health, and it boosts the immune system, okay? What bones are used for bone broth? Any bones could be used for making bone broth, but the best ones would be to make sure that they come from a good source, which is either organic or grass-fed from the store or from free-range chickens. My personal preference are chicken bones and carcasses that I save whenever I make roasted chicken. So I buy an organic chicken, I roast it because they're not real big, and then I take all the meat off of the bones and I'll put them in the refrigerator till I get about a couple of them. 2 pounds is what you really want to do, and freeze them and get them out, and then you can use that, okay? Ever since I discovered how to make bone broth and how easy it is, I save every single bone. I freeze them once I have at least 2 pounds, better yet 4. I make bone broth. If your whole chickens come with a bag of organs, the neck and or feet inside, you can absolutely use those. And you'll even see now, they'll have chicken feet. If you've seen them, you can buy chicken feet and put in your bone broth. Okay. I'm a little skeptical of that. I mean, unless you know where they're coming from. I don't know where those feet are coming from, to be honest with you. But I have seen them. Okay. The same goes for chicken skin. It has lots of collagen in it. So sometimes I use beef bones or add them to whichever other bones I have on hand, and then I freeze it and then make it. So let's get started. To make Instapot bone broth, start with your bones. When using raw beef bones like these, what I will do is I will roast them in the oven first at about 400 degrees for about 45 minutes, okay? If they're frozen bones, you cook them for 90 minutes or brown them in the bottom of the Instapot. So there is on your Instapot, there's a little button down there in the bottom that you can use, and you can brown things with it. Just to make sure you get this right, okay? It says saute. You can do that in there. But I think they're better in the oven, okay? You can do that with chicken bones too. It gets them kind of brown. It works really well. If they're frozen bones, cook for 90 minutes or brown them in the bottom of the Instapot or saute on the saute function. The roasting browning adds great flavor. Add the roasted brown bones, organ meats, and previously roasted bones like chicken carcasses to the Instapot. You want to use 2 to 4 pounds of bones. The more you add, the thicker and more gelatinous the broth will be, right? If you've ever made this, what it's going to do is when it gets cold, it's going to get almost like Jell-O, okay? And the most important thing that we're going to do too is we're going to take all the fat off of it. I don't want you to eat that fat. It will make your cholesterol go up. We don't want you to have that fat, okay? Also, here's another trick. When you put your carcasses in there, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Why do you think we add that? It helps take the minerals and all the stuff that you need out of the bones. It leaches it out because it's an acid. You won't taste it in your soup, but you're going to add it to it, okay? And that's going to help. Okay, this vinegar is very important ingredient as it demineralizes the bones and infuses them into the broth. Pressure cooking directions, okay? So we're going to add all the above ingredients. I do not add these. I don't add any of these. I put my bones in my water and my vinegar. That's all I put when I do my Instapot one. You're cooking these under such pressure that I think it changes the structure of the vegetables. So I do that, and then I'll skim it, and then I will add those when I'm ready to cook. We're just wanting to take the good stuff out of the bones, okay? So that's the way I do it. I'm not saying you have to do it that way, but if you're going to cook for like at least, when you do it in a crock pot, you're going to cook that at least 14 hours. Yeah. Bone broth, the other ones like these, they cook them for days, like 2 days, okay, with the beef bones, okay? All right, so add all the above mentioned ingredients to the Instapot in the inner liner, and then you fill it up to the water line. Do you know where the water line is? You put all of your bones in there, and then you fill it up to the water line, okay? Then you're going to close the lid and turn the pressure valve. Everybody knows this. You're going to do this, and the pressure valve, you're going to turn it off, okay? Then you're going to let it build up. You're going to cook either on high for 2 hours. So there's your function thing there. It's going to say high or low on the bottom. You push manual. It's going to say high or low. And then you're going to cook it for 2 hours on low pressure, or 4 hours, or high pressure, and or 4 hours on low pressure. Okay? If you're going to use the beef bones, they should be cooked on high for 4 to 6 hours in this by itself. Okay? Now, right now, the soup's in there on warm, so it kind of is a crock pot pressure cooker. You can use it, and you can saute in it as well, too. You can brown like hamburger in it or whatever. I love my Instapot. It's very good. So it's going to take about a half an hour for it to build up pressure. Once we get all those bones and the water in there, it's going to take about that long, and then you'll see the pressure is going to count down. It doesn't count up, it counts down. So if we have it for 2 hours, it'll be 120 minutes. And then it's going to count down. You'll see it'll get down to 3 minutes or whatever. And at the end of the pressure cooking cycle, you're going to press the release naturally. That's what you're going to do. So you're not going to, see, it had a little pressure move. You're going to let it go until it goes down on its own. You're not going to, whenever you release this, there'll be steam that comes up, but you're going to natural release it, okay? So it's going to just go down. When you see there's a little metal thing, it's going to just drop. When it drops, that means it's ready. It's done. There's no pressure left. And then you go like that to the valve to make sure, and then it opens. It will not open when it says no. It won't let you do it. Do you understand? If you have for 2 hours, it has to go down to that 2 hours before it will let you open the lid. Okay? So you don't have to be afraid of it. A lot of people are afraid of it. You have to be afraid of it. Okay, So then at that time, this is going to be very, very hot. So what I usually do is I transfer it into another bowl. I get a big thing of ice and I put it into another bowl. We want to chill it quickly because it takes a long time for it to get cold, and you wouldn't want to put it in a refrigerator because it's way too hot. It would take everything in your refrigerator, and that's not good either. So you take the broth. There's not that much of it. When you put 4 pounds of bones or 2 pounds of bones in there in the water, it doesn't end up being that much. You know what I mean? So you're going to take your bones out, then you're going to strain that, put it in a pot. I just put it in a pot first. I don't even strain it to mess with it. I just take it out, take my bones out, and then put it in the pot, and again, the ice water. And then it starts to cool. It doesn't have to be cold, but you cool it down. Then here's another trick I learned. You're going to like this one. So after that, then, if you have lots of glass jars, but the glass jars, you have to be careful if you freeze it, okay? So this is a BPA-free bag, and it's a freezer bag. And so what I do is I take this, and I put it in there like this, and then I take my hot soup, not my hot soup, my cold soup, and I ladle it into there, and then zip it up, and then you can lay these flat to freeze, okay? Okay, I mean, you're going to handle a little differently when it's full of soup. Then you freeze it, and then you can lay it down flat in your freezer so you have lots of room. Okay, it makes lots of room. Then you can get it out. It thaws very quickly. Like you can kind of tilt it and put it in some warm water, and it really thaws real quick that way as well. Okay, then you have this bone broth. So this is your liquid gold. It doesn't have any vegetables, doesn't have anything in it. So you can put your vegetables at that time, cut this up, your rosemary, your celery, your onion, your garlic, pepper, and you're going to add that to and make your broth. Whatever you're having. Chicken noodle soup, you can make anything from it. Wedding soup, you can make whatever soup you like. Broccoli soup, cheese broccoli soup. I mean, I don't eat those things, but these are the things that you can use for your base, and these are healthy for you. Make sure though, when you cool it, you take all the fat off. I usually cool it first with the ice bath, then I put it in another container and put it in the refrigerator when it's cold. And even like now when it's really cold, I have a deck on my back off of my bedroom, and so I just take it and put it on there. And then at night it cool, I'll have to use my own outside refrigerator, and then take all that fat off of there from both the chicken and the beef. The beef is going to be a strong fat. It's just a different thing altogether, the beef. My husband doesn't even like when I cook it. That's why when I got the Instapot, he's like, this is great, because my house it has a certain smell. The vegetables help take away that smell, but it's very pungent, okay, when you're cooking that. So then, adding vegetables and herbs and spices. Okay, so for even more great flavor and nutrients, I also add vegetables, herbs, and spices to my broth after it's done cooking in the Instapot. I do this because I believe heating these delicate items changes their integrity with a high heat and pressure. Okay, typically I use carrot, celery, onion, and a couple garlic cloves. The specifics can be totally up to you, what you have on hand. Rosemary, thyme sprigs, bay leaves, peppercorns, you can add all those to that. I cut the vegetables up in bite-sized pieces, add my spices and herbs, and simmer them until the vegetables are soft. Salt is also needed to make the broth taste good. I use the pink Himalayan salt. Do you ladies use Himalayan? Good, good. Use that, it's very good. And you can freeze or refrigerate, like I said, the plain broth, or you can actually make with the vegetables up and put them in at that time too. It's, if you want to do it, put it in. It just lays really nice and flat. We don't have a bunch of stuff in it. And you can cook up a chicken breast or chicken thighs, cook those up, and then you can add them, make a soup, chicken noodle soup, chicken rice soup. We're going to have some tonight, some chicken rice soup, okay? So you're going to let the broth cool down or put it in the container you made the soup in. In an ice bath, you're going to stir it until it gets cold, and then you're going to take that fat off the top. Then you're going to fill the jars, or you're going to do the bags, however you want to do. Just make sure they're BPA free, and you want to use a Ziploc bag, okay? Freezer bag, all right? Make sure you leave some room when you do the bag too, because it will expand, okay? So I said the fat will settle at the top. This actually creates a protective layer for the broth. So say, for instance, you want to have some fresh broth. You don't want to freeze it all. You want some fresh broth. So you're going to ladle it into here and stick it in your refrigerator. It's kind of cooled down now. You're going to put that in the refrigerator, and that fat's going to come up to the top. it's going to keep in your refrigerator for a week or two with the fat on top. It seals it so the air can't get to it. So leave it on there for that reason if you're going to use it like within a week or two. And then at that time, take that fat off, and that broth will be perfect under there. Okay? It can stay that way for 2 weeks. Without that layer, it lasts only 3 or 4 days. Okay? So don't remove the fat layer until you're ready to use the bone broth. In the freezer, the fat layer protects the broth from freezer burn. I don't mess with that. I get rid of it when I can. Okay? But it can last 6 months in the freezer. So you can put that in, and it'll last about 6 months, all right? So what do you do with the bone broth? You can simply sip it. You can add salt to taste. You can use it from a mug. You can cook with it. You can make gravies, bases. When you go to a very good restaurant, they use bone broth all the time. They start it and use it for most of their cooking. So wherever it says you're replacing, you want to replace the stock. Where it says you're using water, you want to replace it with bone broth. Okay, like if you're making your rice, you can do it. Now I didn't do it with this rice, but you can take your rice and put your bone broth in. Okay, just add it to your diet. I don't want you to eat a ton of it, but I want you to have bone broth. It's healthy for you. It's good. It's better than buying it from a box or getting it from a can. Okay. Then we were talking about it be gelatinous. A lady told me one time she was throwing her gelatin away. It must have been pretty good at the bottom, and then it had gelatin, and then it had the fat, and she was throwing the whole. I'm like, no, that was the good stuff. You were throwing the good stuff away. Okay, so when it comes out of the refrigerator, the more gelatinous it is, the healthier it is. It has more collagen in it. Okay, and if it doesn't have a lot, it's still okay. It's still good for you. Okay. And that's it. That's it for the bone broth. Now, as far as cooking this goes, this is what's hard. I'd like to have another class and make something for you, cook something for you in the Instapot. Make hard-boiled eggs and show you how easy it is to make hard-boiled eggs, or even potatoes, red potatoes with the skins on. It takes 8 minutes, and you have beautiful potatoes. And you don't have, it doesn't take a lot of the vitamins and stuff out of it, because all you use is a cup of water in the bottom. Mostly everything steams. Okay, there is a basket that goes in here. I didn't bring it with me today. It is the most fabulous thing you've ever had. If you get an Instapot, call me and I'll send you a picture of the basket. Everybody needs one. But I had this little trivet thing, and it just doesn't do it. It's just terrible. My sisters, I gave them that for Christmas, and they're like, "Oh, Rosemary, this is the best thing ever." I'm like, I know. So, and then I made jasmine rice in the Instapot. Rice is wonderful to make in the Instapot. So what I did was, it only takes 5 minutes of prep time. It takes 14 minutes to cook, so it takes 20 minutes, and it serves 6. So I put 2 cups of jasmine rice in here, and what's important about rice, if you ladies don't know this, is you need to rinse your rice. You need to put it in. I have one of those mesh strainers. Okay, it's about this big, and it's real fine mesh. I put that in there, then I fill a bowl full of water, and I put the rice in there, and I keep on turning around with my fingers and doing it. You would not believe how much starch comes out of that rice. None of us need it. No, do that. Take it out, and you'll love the rice. It has even a better flavor. Okay, rinse your rice. Some people say to rinse it until the water goes clear. However, I don't. It seems like I'm practically cooking it when I'm doing it much. But just use cool water, and then just keep on rinsing it till the water becomes, you'll see it. It's so cloudy, it's like cloudy. Okay, so you're going to make sure that you rinse your rice. Then you're going to, what I do is, like I say, I have it in that sieve, and it's so nice. You just take that sieve and put it over a little drain area or another bowl, and leave it sit there for a couple minutes. It'll drain all the water out. Then when you're ready to put it in the Instapot, you just pop it right in. It all comes out. There's no little rice pieces or anything. Then you're going to add about 2.5 cups of water to that. There's not going to be any kind of trivet or anything, just plain. Okay. Now what I do is, I think there is a rice thing on here. I don't like it. I don't like how it works on there. So I've learned the best way to make it is you put the water in, you place your Instapot cover on, you push it on sealed, and then you're going to manual cook it for 4 minutes. Okay, so it's going to come up to pressure, and then it's going to say 4 minutes. It's going to count down, then it's going to go beep, beep, beep. And at that time, you're going to leave it sit for 10 minutes. You're going to let it natural release again, just like we did with the soup. Natural release for 10 minutes. And then you're going to open the lid, and you're going to fluff that rice, and you're going to oh, it's so beautiful. So that's that rice tonight. That's exactly how I made it. and it's very good, made in the Instapot. And it's easy. Kind of a one-pot thing there. So thank you for watching our video. We made bone broth in the Instapot and jasmine rice. You can use this bone broth for all kinds of soups and sauces and just to eat plain. I just want you to know that a healthy outside starts from the inside. Thanks.